Hi, I'm Hudkins with Autofill, and I want to introduce the AF4 unit that we just came out with. This unit here is a automatic shutoff dispensing unit for dosing. So what that means is we have cutting fluids. It was originally designed for cutting fluids for CNC machines. You run the cutting fluid at a certain ratio. So for example, a cutting machine might use a water-soluble coolant mixed at a 5% or 6% mix ratio. So what this unit does is it brings water in one side, which would be side 2, brings a concentrate in side 1. That is done with the use of a concentrate pump, just a barrel pump, that comes into side 1. The unit, once you get it programmed and set up, it's very easy to do. You hit the start button and side 1 will dispense the concentrate, side 2 dispenses the water. It comes through a mix block and then dispenses. This one here is set up just to dispense into a bucket right now. You can use a quick disconnect, plug a hose into it if you wanted to attach a hose to either put into a tank or to put into a machine, or if you had this, let's say some CNC machines centrally located within 20 feet of each other, you could actually put a hose and take the hose over to the machine to actually fill it. Like I said, these are automatic shutoffs, so once you set the desired amount to dispense and set up the mix ratio, you can press the button and walk away from it. It'll dispense and then shut off. The units are all steel construction, made in the USA. This one here happens to be mounted on a accessory that we sell. This is a stand. This unit here was originally designed for cutting fluids, but what we found is that it works very well for other things like automotive concentrates like antifreeze, windshield washer fluid, and so forth for like auto shops. You can just enter in the percentage. This one will mix from 0 to 100%. So if you're wanting to run just water, you can actually set it for 0% ratio. It'll run just water. If you wanted to run just concentrate, no water, you can set it at 100%. Or if you set it in between, it will dispense at that mixed ratio, so both sides will kick on. We also found applications, and we'll make future videos talking about those, where you can use these for agricultural applications, for mixing chemicals and fertilizers and so forth, for doing seed conditioning and other applications. We found that these work very, very well. We have a lot of these actually installed in large facilities around the country they're using them to fill mop buckets. They're also using them to fill their floor scrubbers. It makes it very nice that you can take the hose and put it into a floor scrubber that's 80 gallons and hit the button and walk away, and that person can go and they can change the paper towel dispensers or whatever they have to in the bathrooms, or they can do something else. So it's a labor savings. The main reason why we came up with the whole autofill system was we along with 99.9% of every machine shop in the country will admit, and if they don't, they're not being honest with you, that they overfill their tanks all the time. So a guy will go to put a hose into a machine, or go to put a hose into the bucket if they're using buckets to fill their machines, and somebody will get distracted and walk away, and the bucket will either overflow. I've come into my shop many, many times before where I came in one Saturday morning and my shop had 2 inches of water in it. All my coolant was gone. At $1,000 for a drum of coolant, it gets quite expensive. And then if you're paying your guys $20 an hour, you have 3 or 4 guys spending hours cleaning it up. Essentially, this is a very economical system to eliminate those problems, because you can press the button and it will automatically shut off. Like I said, this is the AF4. We have other models in our lineup that are just different. They all automatically shut off, but they're a little bit different in their own sense. But today we're talking about the AF4, and what we'll do is we'll get into, I'll actually run this so you can see how it works. So right now, I have it set at 1 gallon at 3%, and I'm going to go ahead and start it. You can hear the pump kicks on. Kicked off, and I'll run that again so you can see. Water comes in one side, concentrate comes in at the other side, and you get a perfectly mixed solution. Light comes on indicating that it's on. Your 1 and 2 lights come on depending on if number one's lit, that means it's actually dispensing. Same for number 2. If it's off, it means it's not. You also can do water only. I can select just straight water, and you can see that just the number 2 side kicks on. I'll go ahead and stop that so I don't fill the bucket. And then I can also do 100% concentrate, which would just be the number 1 side. Yeah, one of the features that the AF4 has is we have the ability to handshake between other machines, parts washers, CNC machines. Comes with a supplied cord. There's actually a connection underneath that the cord would screw into. These can be tied into the other machine, so you can remotely trigger the machine, the autofill unit to kick on. Makes it really nice because we have one application where these are sitting back behind a unit and you can't quite see them. Not only can you trigger it, but it's also got alarm functions. So we have the ability to say we're pulling from a 55-gallon drum or a 270-gallon tote or a 330-gallon tote, whatever size tank that we're pulling our concentrate from. We can set that when we go into our setup screen, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes, but it's got where I can set that starting point. So when I put a fresh barrel on it, I can set that at 55. I can set the alarm at, let's say, 53 gallons. I'm just using that for an example. So at 53 gallons, once it says, right here, there's on the screen, it says amount till empty, gallons till empty. When it gets to 53, it'll throw off a 70 decibel beeper so that the operator will hear it if they're not close to the unit. It also has it'll flash up on the screen, a silence button at that point in time. They can come over, it'll say concentrate low, barrel low. They can silence it and they can continue running. The reason why we did that is because we still want to get those last couple gallons out of the drum. Once it reaches the 55 gallons, it'll say barrel empty, or if it's pulling out of the drum, and let's say there was only 54 and a half gallons that was actually in the drum, it will get a flow alarm because it'll sense that it's not pulling fluid. It'll actually get an alarm that says flow fault, side 1. At that point in time, they have to reset the barrel by just via push button that pops up on the screen, and they would change the barrel at that point in time. Once they hit that reset barrel button, it will bring this back to 55 gallons till empty. They'll start all over. Those signals can be sent through that cable to an external PLC. So let's say they have a touch screen that's on a large washing system that's 40 feet from this unit. We can actually handshake back and forth to the machine, and they can read that signal, and they can throw a message up on their screen that says, hey, check the concentrate on your parts washer. So we added that feature because we had a couple customers that had requested it. So, you know, here at Autofill, we try to listen to what our customers' needs are, and that's what we try to accommodate. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the features on the screen. We'll actually bring in a zoom in and do a close-up on the screen. I'll show you how to set it up. There are 5 different opportunities for batch size. So we give you 5 different opportunities, and this one here is set up for cutting fluids for CNC machines. And you'll see that on the screen, we've actually put sizes of machines to represent different settings. Your setting 1, which is set up as 0 concentration, that says water only. The second one would be a bucket. That's normally set at 4 gallons at whatever percentage. And then we have a small CNC machine, a medium CNC machine, and then a large CNC machine. And those are all set at whatever you want to set them. If you want to set them all at 10 gallons at 5%, that's fine. If you want to set one at 100 gallons or 10,000 gallons at 5% or whatever percentage you want, that's fine too. Those screens are, when you set that up, you go in and you set all those up, and then you go into and then you go out of that, and that's actually a password protected screen. There is the ability to set your own password. So once you get the unit in, the units will come in with the password at 0. You hit the setup button, hit 0, it'll let you into the screen to do the setup. Once you've got all your setups done, you don't really necessarily ever have to go into that screen again. The operator then would just go to the select screen, and that gives them the ability to change which ones they want to dispense without changing any of the settings. Obviously, the person who's in charge of that area is going to be the person determining how much to dispense and at what ratio. We set this up for, like, a good example of why we did that was we had a customer that wanted to fill mop buckets on the same station. Mop buckets, a small 10 at T1 floor scrubber that was about, I think it was 3 gallons. They had a T3, which was like 8 gallons. They had a 5700, which was like 12 gallons. And then they had a T20, which was, I believe they set at 53 gallons. That way, and we actually put pictures of those, each one of those floor scrubbers on the screen, so that way the operator can just pick and choose from those. So I'm going to stop here. We're going to go in through, I think we've gone through all the features of externally. Like I said again, there's this one here is we're just dispensing into a bucket. You can actually hook a hose to this block and drag that to a machine. And then when the unit's just sitting here idle, obviously there's no lights on. There is a light underneath the unit. Some shops are darker than others, so we added that little LED light so you can actually see what you're doing. So we're going to talk about the screen. We're going to go in depth now. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual screen and the functions. So this is the main screen that you see. You can obviously see there's a start button. Right here it says current. That would be how much it just dispensed. Combined total, this one here says 44.12 gallons has been dispensed through this unit since I've been doing this video. Concentration total, we've dispensed 2.53 gallons. And it says gallons till empty. It's 54.57. Basically, that's the set point. We set this at 55 gallons minus the 2.53. That's where you get the 54.57. So we go into the setup screen. Well, actually, let's look right here. It says water only. So right now, it's going to dispense 3 gallons at 0%, which means it's going to dispense just water only. That's the reason why, obviously, that icon pops up. If we go into the select screen, and I want to do a 5 gallon or a 5 gallon bucket, but I want to put 4 gallons into it. I'm going to select that, go back to home. Now you can see it's at 4 gallons at 3%. So it shows you what's selected, and the picture obviously changes. Hit the setup screen. This one here is at 10 gallons at 3%. Obviously it brings the picture up, so I think you understand how that works. We're going to go ahead and go back, and I'll just set this thing at the 5 gallon bucket. I was talking about the password protected screen earlier. We do have a back door, so let's say you change the password because you can change it to whatever you want, and for some reason that person leaves the company, or somebody screwed up and they didn't write it down someplace or whatever. There is a back door. We ship these things with a default master password to get into it, which you could call us and we could give you that. You would hit this button here and you can enter that password, and it would bring you into the setup screen, and then you can change that password. You can reset the password at that point in time. So let's go into the setup. So we're going to go through and we're going to set these, and as I mentioned earlier, you have these 5 different opportunities. That this is the screen, really the only screen that the operator would be making any kind of choices. Is this screen here, which is in a selection. We're going to go through and we're going to set all these up in the setup screen. I have this set at 0, the password. I go in, this is actually the setup screen. This is where we do all the setups for the different concentration and the amount to be dispensed. So you can see the water only set at 3 gallon. I could change that. I could make that 5 gallons. You can see it changes it there. I'm going to go ahead and put it back to 3. The 4 gallons, I could change that to 4 gallons, and I can change the ratio. So down here, that one is actually selected. See how it's disappeared? That one's the one that's selected. As you select these, they disappear. It says 4 gallons with 3%. So down here in the corner, it says concentrate and H2O. It's going to put 0.12 gallons of concentrate to 3.88 gallons of water. If I change either the amount to be dispensed or the concentration level, I'm going to go and change this to 10%. And you'll see that number change. Now it's going to put 0.4 gallons of concentrate to 3.6 gallons of water. Same thing if I change the gallons. Let's say I was going to do 50 gallons. You can see it's 5 gallons of concentrate to 45 gallons of water. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 4 gallons. Put that back at 3%. So you go through here and you would select, and you'd say, okay, we're gonna set this up for, it's a medium-sized CNC machine, and I'm going to go ahead and set it right here. I want to change this one, or I want to change this one. It doesn't really matter, whatever you set it up for. Now also, if I wanted to, I could change this to, I could actually make this one at 100% concentrate, and when you turn the unit on, it's only going to pump out of the side 1. So we've set that. Then what you want to do is like we have this concentrate full barrel set point. So we know that a barrel is 55 gallons of concentrate. We say we've got 55 gallons, and when it reaches 53 gallons used, I want to set an alarm. And the alarm, I've got it set at 53 gallons. And like I said before, it'll set an audible alarm, and it'll also come up on the screen that says barrel low. With a silence button, so that way you can silence the alarm and actually continue to run until it's empty. This right here would be the reset total. So if you go to the home screen, you'll see that all these totals combined concentrate used, gallons till empty. Those are, if I want to reset those, I can reset my totals. Now that's the combined used and the concentrate total used is going to stay on there until I hit this button. So if you wanted to track it by month, by weekly, by day, by month, by weekly, by year, however you want to do it, once you get those charted and you want to reset it, you can hit the reset total button. If we go home, you'll see it goes to 0 and 0. If I go to this screen, the setup screen, and I want to reset my barrel, I can reset that. Now it says 55 gallons till empty. So we're assuming that we just set this thing up fresh. We put a fresh barrel on it. We've got it all set up how we want it to be set up, and I can go back into the setup screen. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this button. This little button right here brings you into a test mode. So this is set. These tests are set at 1 gallon. So when you first get the unit in and you want to calibrate it, if your accuracy, you're trying to get your accuracy level down to the finite level, and you want to be based on water pressures and viscosities of fluids and so forth, you may want to run this test. It may be that you set it and you run it and you use your refractometer and it checks out fine. You're fine. You don't need to do anything. But you can actually hit this, so I'll go ahead and hit H2O test. It's actually dispensing a gallon. When it gets to a gallon, it'll shut off. So if I had a gallon jug and I put underneath this thing and I wanted to check to see if it was dispensing or something, or a pail or something you knew was exactly 1 gallon, had a mark on it, you could do that and check it. If for some reason it was light and it was, let's say, it was like 0.1 gallon, appeared to be 0.1 gallon for being a full gallon, you can come down here and you can offset this. So you could, like the total H2 offset, I could go into this and I could add 0.1 gallons to bring it up to its level, and it's going to add 0.1 gallons to the unit calibrated. Same thing on the concentrate side. I could hit the concentrate button, it will dispense 1 gallon. If it's short, you just add to that or subtract to it. It may even, depending on water pressures and so forth, it may even be low or actually too much. Then it's also, I want to talk to you a little bit about this, and this is a really important one. This is one that we added. Some coolants and some concentrates out there, they emulsify very well. You don't really have to mix them up that well, so it's not really needed. But we added pulse mode because there's some that, like if you're mixing at a thicker viscosity or a thicker viscosity at a higher concentration level, maybe you're mixing at 30% or 40% for like a stamping fluid or something. You may want to pulse that and introduce it into the water. There's another reason why we did that, was because with pulse mode off, it's going to put all of your concentrate on side one. Let's say you're set at 50 gallons at 10%. It's going to put the 10% of that 50 gallons in the very beginning of the cycle. So the water's going to kick on, the concentrate level's going to kick on. If let's say it's 50 gallons at 10%, it's going to put 5 gallons of concentrate in the very first part of the dispensing cycle, and then it's just going to dump water on top of that. Some fluids, not a big deal. Maybe you don't need maybe they have really good emulsifiers and so forth, and you don't need to like inject it in. What this does, pulse mode on, it actually injects that percentage over the whole course of the fill. So if you're at 50 gallons, injecting it, you want a dose at 10% concentration level, it's going to spread the 10% over the whole course of the 50 gallons. So every time, for every gallon, the pump's going to kick on for a second and put 10% of 1 gallon in. And it's going to do that. It divides it over the whole course of the cycle. So we can back the camera out here in a few minutes and I can actually show you how the pulse mode works. Works very, very slick. People seem to like it. It gets a real even, consistent mix. But that would be pulse mode on. So pretty much that's it. It's very, very simple. Once you get these set up and you leave them set, if an operator comes up and, like I said, for instance, we had these set up for floor scrubbers. They had different floor scrubbers. If the person drove up the 5700, they would go to select and select the 5700, go back here, and they'd fill it in and automatically change the settings. Or the T20, which was like in a 55-gallon tank or a 53-gallon tank, they would put it in there, go to select the T20, go back, hit the start button, walk away, do something else. So pretty simple. Should be very user-friendly for the operators, especially once they're set up and they give them a quick 5-minute training. We found that everybody just really likes it and likes how it works. It's also going to be an extremely faster than a Venturi valve, because a Venturi valve obviously slows down as it's sucking the fluid out of a barrel. This is going to dispense, I believe we're filling a mop bucket, about 4 gallons. We're doing it in less than 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we were obviously filling a bucket a second ago. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and I'm going to hook in a hose. So we have this go into a separate tank, that way we can watch the pulsing. I've got it set at 5 gallons at 3%. I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button, and you'll see the pulse mode and how it works. After every gallon, it'll kick on for a certain percentage of the gallon. So it's basically putting 3% concentrate per gallon over the course of 5 gallons. And that's it. Once it gets to the 5 gallons, perfectly mixed at 3%, it automatically shuts off. Okay, so we've gone through all the specifics of the screens, and we've showed you how to set it up, and we've showed you how to program it, and showed you all the ins and outs, and explained to you what all these different little buttons and gadgets mean on the screen. One of the things that makes it very, very nice is the ability to keep track of all your usage. That was a really important thing that we wanted. We have customers that write their coolant budgets and their chemical budgets at the beginning of the year, and they have no way of tracking or tracing. Now this unit does exactly what some of the other like water-powered units and so forth out there do, except this gives you a feedback. It tells you exactly how much you dispense, exactly, it can give you alarming functions. I can tell you there's a couple applications, the reason why these are being put in their place was they've had parts washers that were supposed to be running, and they've titrated these things. They're supposed to be running a certain percentage, and there's no type of handshaking back and forth. What happens is they're washing these aluminum parts. The aluminum parts start to get spots on them. Didn't realize that the actual cleaners that they're using in the back, the barrels are empty, and the pumps that are driven by water are basically just sucking air. So this gives you the ability to have total control and to actually see what your consumption is. It also gives you the ability to have labor savings by not having to stand there and watch these tanks fill, and also the safety aspect. We've covered that you know, there's nothing worse than getting coolant on a nice slick floor in a machine shop. It's already saturated with oil. So that's pretty much the overview of the AF4. If you have any questions, please go to www.auto-fill.net, or you can call us on our main line at 574-224-2300. This is just one more exciting product that we've launched, and we have many more ideas and many more products that we're going to be pursuing in the future, especially in the other industries that we talked about, and you'll see those videos coming soon. Thank you.